Troy, let me just check and make sure that we're all set for Woodmore.
This meeting is being recorded.
Yes, sir. We're going to go ahead and do Woodmore first and continue on into the land use hearing, not reset.
Not reset.
And we are live.
Perfect.
That is correct.
Okay.
And we are live and recording.
Thank you, Troy. Well, thank you, everyone. We are going to convene our Woodmore Mountain General Improvement District public hearing for Tuesday, today, June 27th, 2023. I will call this meeting to order if you'll all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let me ask our attorney, Jeff Garcia, if we have certification of the agenda today.
Yes, you do. County Attorney's Office has reviewed all items on the agenda, and the board has jurisdiction over all items. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Garcia. And do any commissioners have disclosures for items on this agenda today?
I have none, thank you.
No, sir.
And I have none either. Thank you for that. So with that, we'll move on to item, 2A, which is our consent agenda, the Woodmore Mountain General Improvement District Public Hearing Budget Adoption for December 15th, 2022, 2:30 p.m. Approval of minutes. I will accept a motion.
If it pleases the board, I do have a motion to approve the request in item A of the consent agenda.
Second.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. We'll move on now to item 3A in the regular agenda, which is the Woodmore Mountain Contract Award Agreement with Kinetic Industry to perform culvert cleaning replacement with the Woodmore Mountain subdivision. The cost of these services from Kinetic Industry is $9,900. Kim Hirsch from Budget presenting for staff. Actually, maybe Martha, I'm sorry. Yes.
Hi, I'm Patrick Blake. I'm filling in for Kim Hirsch.
Okay, hi, Patrick.
So I'm here to present a contract award agreement with Kinetic Industry to perform culvert cleaning and replacement within the Woodmore Mountain subdivision. The Woodmore Mountain GID was created in 1993 through a vote of the residents. The purpose of the district is to undertake roadway improvements and operations, including maintenance, within the Woodmore Mountain subdivision. The contract was awarded to the Kinetic Industry under invitation to bid number 015-23 in the amount of $9,900. Per statute CRS 30-20-510, the Board of County Commissioners constitutes the board of the directors of the district. The 2023 adopted budget appropriated $73,595 in spending authority for roadway improvements. Therefore, there's an adequate funding for the spending requests.
Great, thank you, Patrick. Any questions for Patrick?
I have none.
No questions.
And I have none either. With that, let me open it up for any citizen comment. Is there any citizen comment in the room? Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Kevin Cloud.
Sir, and if you could just approach the podium and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Kevin Cloud. I am on the Roads Committee along with Ken Ross from Woodmore Mountain Improvement District. This is our first year of being on the Roads Committee. Thank you for having us and considering the agenda item. One item that has come up regarding our community, and I'm not sure these facts are accurate, so please don't take me as gospel, but is that the Woodmore Mountain GID was set up many, many years ago when the district was self-administered from the monies that were collected, I'm not sure by what method, but that there was some incompetence at the time, and that the county was left paying some amounts that were overpromised, and therefore this GID district or the GID was established. This is going on, I believe, 25 or 30 years ago, I believe. We have a completely different community, a completely different board, and my impression is that we're the only community that is subject to the process that we go through every year. which is not necessarily a negative thing, but it is cumbersome, we have come to find out in our first year of doing this on the Roads Committee. And we don't know, we'd like to explore if other communities are not required to do this. What might be the procedures and who might we talk to about possibly amending this after it's been enforced for so long, and that we can prove that we can maybe go back to a less cumbersome process? So, thank you.
Great, thank you, sir. Any additional citizen comment? Okay, is there any citizen comment online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Okay, and with that, I'll close citizen comment, bring it back to the board for any further discussion and/or a motion.
I'm wondering if the county manager, Mr. DeBoard, is here and might have some information he might share with the gentleman who spoke with us?
No, not off the top of my head, but it's always good practice to revisit what's happened so long ago and look at our options. So Martha and Patrick's, before you leave, if we could get some contact information, we'll set up a meeting and get with our attorney's office and just brainstorm some options.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeBoard.
Yeah, I will echo those sentiments and really appreciate you coming forward, sir, to share that. In my 5 years here, it's been a point of consternation for me that we spend this time with Woodmore in a process that could potentially be more efficient. So I think I share that questioning and would hope that maybe there's some work we can do with our staff and budget to make this a little more streamlined. Thank you for that. Okay, so with that, did we have any citizen comment? I think we've already done the citizen comment, so I'll bring it back to the board for any further discussion and/or a motion.
I have a motion to approve a Woodmore Mountain contract award agreement with Kinetic Industry to perform culvert cleaning replacement within the Woodmore Mountain subdivision. The cost of these services from Kinetic Industry is $9,900.
Second, and wish to speak on the motion.
Please.
I really appreciate a member of the board coming before us and making such a request, because, yeah, like we had just talked about, I mean, things do change. I think we have some excellent metro districts, neighborhood associations in the county who are all but self-governing. Now, there are some bad examples, as we do occasionally hear from the residents of those areas. But there are others that are fully self-sufficient and actually do not go through this process of coming before the board. So I'm absolutely open to seeing what we can do based on the legal construct of the improvement district. And if we can get to a better process for the people of Woodmore Mountain, I'm all in favor. So I don't know if the county manager feels like there must be direction to staff. Okay, you're shaking your head no. In that case, I second the motion as made.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Teal. So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. Thank you for being with us today. So with that, we'll move right into our public hearing. We have...
Hang on just a second there, Chair.
Oh, okay, sure.
You have to turn it off.
They said to just go straight through. Okay.
Now, the problem is, we've got the press here, so we can't have the dirty joke audition moment like we normally do. But we can't do that, press is here. I don't know, I've heard that before, lady.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll go ahead and convene our land use and public hearing for Tuesday, June 27th, 2023. I will call the meeting to order. We've done the Pledge of Allegiance. Let me ask Attorney Garcia if we have certification of today's agenda.
You do. The county attorney's office reviewed all my items on the agenda, and the jurisdiction is appropriate on items. And I believe you've just been handed a new motions log on this as well.
Okay, and I don't know if I have a new motions log.
It should note on item B that matter is to be continued.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Garcia. And do any commissioners have disclosures for items on this agenda?
I have none.
No, sir.
And I have none either. We don't have any land use agenda items, so under item 2, we have no items. We'll move right into item 3, which is our public hearing agenda items. The first is item 3A, a second and final reading of ordinance number O-023-002, an ordinance for the safe use of public property to limit public camping and prohibit temporary structures on public property within the unincorporated portions of Douglas County, Colorado. Jeff Garcia, County Attorney, presenting for staff.
Thank you, sir. So today we're addressing the second reading of the ordinance prohibiting public camping and temporary structures on public property. I'll be addressing some of the community questions we received during our contemplation of this ordinance while I do the presentation. The ordinance will have two parts. The first part prohibits individuals from camping on public property without written consent from the county. It is important to note that a party cannot violate this ordinance if there is no other alternative shelter available. The second portion of the ordinance prohibits temporary structures, that is to say tents, awnings, things that might be constructed for a shelter that may not meet a normal definition of a tent or a structure. That being said, anything like that would be prohibited on a public property without, again, written consent by the county. The county is acting under its authority to protect public health, safety, and welfare. Our goal in this is to not create or criminalize behavior, but rather to provide and communicate clear public expectations and offer those in need proper shelter. That is also to say that a question has repeatedly come before the county attorney's office, and I know members of the board, is whether or not we're going to create shelters in the county, and that is not our goal. Our goal is to work with our partners throughout the state to make sure that shelter is available and we transport individuals who need that shelter to that already existing shelter. We are not going to create new shelters in Douglas County. This will be enforced through a sheriff's department and with our co-response team, the HART team. A violation could be punishable by up to $1,000 in fines. But again, our goal in this is to permit the public to make good, safe use of public land. It is important that the county enforces this ban and creates this ban lawfully. And in doing so, we've examined how limitation of public use of land and bans on camping can be enforced. And we have taken direction from Colorado courts on this, and that is why the exception exists that permits non-enforcement where there is no shelter available. That comes from a Feet Forward case out of Boulder, and it is important, again, that the county is following lawful practices and moving forward with the court's direction in this. The prohibition on structures is longstanding, and we are able to use existing police power to limit what kinds of things are permitted on public property. Today we're asking for your approval on second reading and final vote. I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Mr. Garcia, thank you for your work on this. Any questions for the county attorney?
I have none, thank you.
I do have a few questions. So, Jeff, when you brought this before us earlier, I know we were very focused on this being a solution with the homeless crisis. And, but since our first reading, I have had some questions. I've got a long history with the Boy Scouts. My son was an Eagle Scout. Long before he was an Eagle Scout and doing high adventure stuff, he was a small Cub Scout. And our first actual camp outing was actually in the backyard. Now, so for our residents who have that kind of situation, set up the tent in the backyard, have the simulated camping experience where mom and dad are just right inside. Is there anything about this that would prohibit just a normal recreation on private property and owner's private property along those lines?
Absolutely not. No, it only addresses unpermitted or camping without permission on public property. And when I speak about public property, I'm talking about property in unincorporated Douglas County.
Okay. To that same effect, I know for years, it's been the goal of Boy Scout organizations in and outside of our county to probably use Douglas County, some of the beautiful open spaces we have, to have major camporee, jamboree events. Would anything like that inherently, would anything in this ordinance inherently prohibit that? An organization like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, some other youth camping organization from attempting to get and receive a camping permit for a large event like that?
No, written permission of any kind permits any organization or party to use public property. It's just the process of getting that approval. In fact, I would guess that the county would encourage such activity.
Okay. All right. I think those address my questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. And, from my perspective, it's a tremendous thanks to you for your work and a large debt of thanks to our Douglas County Homeless Initiative. I created that homeless initiative several years ago after my son and I encountered an encampment in Lone Tree. And that encampment was filled with needles, liquor bottles, little girls' underwear, really inappropriate things that surprised my son. And when I reached out to City Council, they had identified a few other encampments in the area. Fast forward to today, and we have this robust partnership with about 40 other entities, including the faith-based community, nonprofits, folks that work in the homeless arena, government officials, and we're working in a really unique fashion to overcome the issue and getting ahead of it. I'm pleased to report that we've achieved a 46% reduction in overall homelessness within a year, and largely that's attributable to our HEART team, which is the Homeless Engagement Assistance Resource Team. Again, it's that co-response model where you have a navigator paired with law enforcement that can truly go out and engage with somebody that's unhoused and either provide them with services or help address an issue that may in fact be criminal. And I want to be very pointed about that. It is not a crime to be unhoused, but it is a crime to commit a crime. And long past are the days when elected officials can turn a blind eye to crime in our cities. I would point out a really important book by Michael Schellenberger called San Francisco, authored by a gentleman who spent 30 years in the Bay Area and through a lot of policies out there saw that what they were doing was not working. Drugs, crime, public health issues were proliferating no matter how much money was being put into the problem. We lead with the 4 C's in Douglas County, starting with compassion. So we lead with compassion, and that's what our HEART team is all about. But we also have code enforcement, community services, and communications. So our signage campaign around handouts don't help is also throughout the county. And again, that's not telling people don't give, it's saying redirect your generosity to a 501c3 that is trusted and that can provide services such as our food banks, clothing, sheltering throughout the area. Now again, the Metro Denver Homeless Initiative receives about $27 to $30 million a year to address homelessness in the Denver metro region. So even though we don't have sheltering in Douglas County, we feel comfortable availing ourselves of those services throughout the Denver metro area because we are part of that Denver metro region. At the the same time, I'm really pleased that this board has authorized a reintegration officer at the Justice Center that can help our returning citizens. Again, we don't call them criminals, they're returning citizens. But instead of going out into our public spaces, into parks and under bridges, they can get reintegration. They can get substance abuse services, mental health counseling, job counseling, as well as transportation back to their residences or wherever they need to go. So we're pleased that this program is being addressed in a positive way. This additional piece with the camping ban, I believe, is just an additional tool that helps us reclaim those public spaces and keep Douglas County the safe and clean place that it's always been. We're generally the healthiest county in the state, usually 1, 2, or 3 in the nation, and our goal as elected officials is to keep it that way. Any additional questions or comments for Jeff?
I do have another question that came up after listening to Commissioner Teal's questions. So this ordinance is about public property. So I think that would pertain to county-owned property, the Highlands Ranch Metro District, any other public property in Douglas County. Would this also apply to CDOT property along 470, for example?
It would not. That's state-owned property, so it would not. Unless it is actually owned by Douglas County, it would not apply.
So if you're saying it has to be owned by Douglas County, if someone is camping along the right-of-way on Highlands Ranch Parkway, it's my understanding that that is under the control of the Highlands Ranch Metro District. Does this pertain to that property?
I'd have to know the specific piece of property to understand the ownership and whether or not this would apply. But in the abstract, I would say that it is possible that it could apply, but there would be other laws that we might be able to apply to help someone find the assistance that they need. So though it may not be a county law, there may be some other laws regarding a person's own safety on a public thoroughfare.
Thank you. I hadn't even thought about that until I was listening to Commissioner Teal's line of questions. So after this, I'd like to get with you so I understand what that means. So thank you.
Absolutely. And as an additional point, I'm presenting today, but I'm really presenting today because we needed someone to present. It is the Board of Commissioners who've worked on this. I've only been with the county a brief period of time, but you've worked on this for years. And the homeless initiative, this is a topic they've discussed about. This is truly a community created ordinance, and it's unique to have come from working in other municipalities to see that this kind of proactive community approach to a significant and serious issue is being addressed in Douglas County, and I do really commend you.
Well, thank you for that, Jeff. I was born in Denver. I'm a fifth-generation Coloradan, and I would call on our new mayor of Denver to partner with Douglas County and the metro area county commissioners to develop a co-response model and not turn a blind eye to crime. Our citizens have identified this as a top issue, and like I said, gone are the days when we can pretend as though the tents along the highways are a safe place for people to be. Proliferating drugs and crime and other public health issues simply is not tolerable by our citizens, and we want to be responsive to that. With that, let me open it up for any citizen comment. Is there any citizen comment with regard to this item? Troy, do we have any citizen comment online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Okay, thank you. And with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
Well, it's been said a couple times how the length of time that the county has worked on this matter. And, we just called for a public comment, and we had no one step forward. And yet, I can recall having this room absolutely full of residents of our county when we have discussed topics of homelessness since my time of coming onto the board. And so it is something we have been working on. And really, I need to give all the credit here to my friend and colleague, Abe Layden. Abe, this was your, the homeless initiative, you said that you started it, and you did. You had a vision in mind for what we could do to provide real and actual solutions when the rest of the metro area, at the very least, but even the rest of the state, seemed to be floundering on what to do with the homeless crisis. And it's because of that I've actually been a little disappointed in the press lately, because I've heard comments in the press of, well, why would Douglas County need this? They don't have a homeless problem. Douglas County doesn't have a homeless problem. Needs one more word, anymore. And it's because of the work that, Abe, you introduced, you spearheaded, that we are here today. And so if it pleases the board, I do have a motion to approve the second and final reading of ordinance number O-023-002, an ordinance for safe use of public property to limit public camping and prohibits temporary structures on public property within the unincorporated portions of Douglas County, Colorado.
Second.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? I'll just add, you're being very kind, but I know quite well, and I want to be very humble about this, that I can't get any good work done without a great board of county commissioners that supports these initiatives and a phenomenal team of community members that contribute. But thank you for that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries 3-0. So with that, we will move on to our next item, which I believe is being continued. It's the Fields Preliminary Plan. And Heather Scott, the principal planner from staff, is presenting. Heather?
The applicant has requested a further continuance of the board's hearing until August 8th.
Okay, August 8th, 2023 at 2:30 p.m., I believe. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Any questions for Heather?
I have none, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing none, I will accept the motion.
I have a motion to continue the Fields preliminary until August 8th, 2023 at 2:30 p.m.
Second.
So there's a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries 3-0. Thank you. So that will move to item 3C, which is the reunion at Inverness Plan Development Rezoning Project File ZR 2022-043. Eric Pavlinek, Principal Planner, presenting for staff. And that is not Eric, that is Mike Pasica. Hi, Mike.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mike Pasica, representing Planning Services, and I'm standing in for Eric Pavlinek this afternoon. And the request before you is the reunion at Inverness Plan Development Rezoning, project number ZR 2022-043. Jeff Reeder is here this afternoon on behalf of the owners, Reunion Inverness RE LLC. The application is a request to rezone approximately 5.9 acres of land from light industrial to planned development. Planning Area 1 is approximately 2.86 acres, and Planning Area 2 is 3.01 acres. The intent of the PD process is to encourage innovative and creative design and to facilitate a mix of uses in the development of a balanced community, including residential, business, commercial, recreational, open space, and other selected secondary uses in accordance with state statutes. A PD rezoning begins with the submittal of an application. Following a review period by referral agencies and the public, notice is given for public hearings before the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners. Staff did not receive comments from any abutting landowners or members of the public during the referral process. The Planning Commission heard the proposal at a public hearing on June 5th, 2023, and unanimously recommended approval of the request by a vote of 6-0 with one condition. The Planning Commission asked clarifying questions regarding the applicant's traffic study and compatibility with adjacent land uses.
Ultimately, the Planning Commission felt that the proposal could be compatible within the uses in the business park and noted the need for additional housing opportunities. As indicated by the red star on this slide, the site is in the northern portion of Douglas County, located north of E-470, east of I-25, and south of County Line Road. The site outlined in red is zoned light industrial and is within the Inverness Business Park, adjacent to the intersection of Inverness Parkway and Inverness Drive South. And this is an aerial of the site. Again, it's outlined in red. The parcel borders the Colorado Athletic Club to the north, a portion of John Dairy Park to the east, and a direct TV facility to the south. Other office buildings are located to the west, adjacent to and west of Inverness Parkway. The final plat for Inverness Filing 7 was approved by the Board of County Commissioners in 1982, and subsequent replats have been approved to modify property lines. The current property configuration was approved in 2020 and is the subject lot of the current rezoning request. Proposed planning area 2 includes an existing inpatient physical rehabilitation hospital constructed in 2021. This is an aerial of the parcel with the PD or with the PD area outlined in red, showing that existing physical rehabilitation hospital. The PD proposal retains many of the existing light industrial uses while adding single-family attached or multifamily residences as principal uses on the northern half of the site, which is planning area 1. 39 total dwelling units are proposed in this planning area for an overall density of 15 dwelling units per acre. 2 points of vehicular access are proposed with this development, an existing right-in, right-out movement access on Inverness Parkway, and existing full movement access from Inverness Drive South. The applicant submitted a traffic impact study, which was reviewed and accepted by Public Works Engineering. This slide outlines some of the PD commitments. There's no park or school land dedication for this PD. Cash in lieu of dedication shall be determined at subdivision plat or site improvement plan application and paid prior to plat recordation or site improvement plan approval. Water and sewer are proposed to be served by the Inverness Water and Sanitation District. Run through a few site photos here. This view looks east from the existing access drive along the northern property line. The Colorado Athletic Club is on the left, in the left-hand side of that picture. This view is from the same location looking southeast at the new physical rehab hospital. And this view looks southwest from within the property. The approval standards for a PD rezoning are set forth in section 15 and listed on this slide. Approval standards are discussed on pages 8 through 10 within the staff report. Staff has evaluated the planned development rezoning request in accordance with section 15 of the zoning resolution. The application proposes a mixed-use plan development in the Inverness Business Park. Should the board find that the approval criteria for a plan development rezoning application are met, the following conditions should be considered for inclusion in the motion. Condition number 1, prior to recordation, all minor technical corrections shall be made to the plan development document to the satisfaction of Douglas County. Condition number 2, all commitments and promises made by the applicant or the applicant's representative during the public hearing and or agreed to in writing and included in the public record have been relied upon by the Board of County Commissioners in approving the application. Therefore, such approval is conditioned upon the applicant's full satisfaction of all such commitments and promises. The Section 150509 sets forth the parameters for the board's recommendation of the PD rezoning request. And this concludes my presentation. I'm available to take questions. Otherwise, Jeff Weeder, representing the owner, is here this afternoon.
Great. Thank you so much, Mike. Any questions for staff?
I have no questions for you, Mike. Thank you. Good presentation.
No questions.
Okay, none for me either, and we'll call up the applicant. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Can you hear me okay? Perfect. My name is Jeff Weeder. I'm with Galloway and Company. We are at 5500 Greenwood Plaza Boulevard in Greenwood Village, Colorado 80111. Thanks again for your time tonight. Thanks again to staff. It's been fantastic through this process. I think with the presentation that Mike gave, it's very thorough, so I'll just try to add a little bit of context to what we're trying to do here. In this slide, you can see the project areas highlighted in that navy blue, and we've got some amenity surrounding us, both to our east and our north for that project area, and then you've seen the work and office employment area basically surrounding its entirety. And then we also like to highlight the light rail station that's there. The reason we like to do that is this shows and illustrates a nice live-work-play atmosphere and where we can have some compatibility with the surrounding development as well as some complementary uses to the surrounding development. In other words, if you were to have a residential development come in here, they can hop right across the street, hit the athletic club, right? There's going to be a public trail off to the east that connects to John Derry Park. So you get the nice park area for the play part of the live, work, play. And hopefully you can see that there's benefit in having them be right next to work, possibly at the Reunion Hospital or in one of the nearby office parks. Or at worst case, they're jumping a couple blocks over, catching the light rail and heading to downtown for work, coming back, lessening that traffic load to the surrounding area. If we zoom in, just showing you the PA1, planning area 1 on the north side, planning area 2 on the south side. Planning area 2 is the existing rehabilitation hospital, is used for physical rehabilitation. And what we have is, again, with the PD, we get to get a little creative. We get to have provide a nice development as opposed to being held to stringent code in the straight code districts. The last maybe comment we'll have is obviously we went through the process, had referral periods with referral agencies, got good weigh-in from all of them, came back with favorable responses. Water and Sewer Conserve, Centennial Airport was fine with it. You know, they want to have a navigation easement, and when the Reunion Hospital did their plat, they had a navigation easement for the entirety of the land. So PA1 and PA2 currently have a navigation easement that sit on it. So we wouldn't even need to take that step for the airport authority. And then of course, fire department, police department, all necessary services are in support. Mike already mentioned that we'll be doing some fees in lieu for park dedication. You know, the small strip, rectangular shape of the lot doesn't really offer us the opportunity to dedicate anything. So this way we can provide for those causes outside of actual land dedication. And I think the last thing is that you'll find in the staff report that the application does meet the criteria. And I think our applicant wants to come in and be a good neighbor, provide a nice little service for this area in particular. That's all I have. Available for questions if you need anything.
Great, thank you so much. Any questions for the applicant?
Yes, Mr. Weeder, thank you for being here. So when I was looking through the whole packet last night, I realized it is just a rezoning. But in my mind, I was trying to picture how you're going to put 39 units on here as townhouses. So are they just going to be lined up around through there, or have you even gotten to that part of figuring out what that looks like?
We do have a few concept plans that we've weighed. The 39 density is just a fail-safe to get us to where if we need to adjust the floor plans to make them skinnier for the market, to provide what the market wants, that we can do so. What we find is that with the grade on site, with how we have to develop, is that 39 is about the limit that we could get, right? It's not terribly dense. It's not as dense as the big apartment complex that you see down to our south, for example. It's not an apartment complex. It'll never get you there. What it might get you is some townhome type product where we can offer garage units to the tenants and or the purchasers. So I hope that answers your question. We have done some layouts. We actually had a preliminary meeting with Inverness with their Architectural Control Committee, so they understand what they were looking at as well. We have some feedback from them, and we know we can accomplish what they would require as well on this site.
The only reason I asked the question is, as I was going through the package, I was trying to figure out if it was going to be an apartment building or exactly what you were going to put on there. So when I saw perhaps 39 units, townhouses, each with a two-car garage, it gave me a better idea of what you're trying to accomplish on this site, and I would like to applaud you for looking at this piece of property and figuring out something you could do that might provide some attainable housing for residents. So I think you answered the question I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Teal?
No questions.
And I don't have any questions either. I think you all have done a wonderful job of being proactive, a lot of communication, a lot of good work with staff. So really pleased to see this project move forward. So thank you. And I believe you've met all the legal criteria.
Awesome. Thank you.
Let me open it up for any citizen comment. Is there any citizen comment in the room? Seeing none. Troy, is there any citizen comment online?
I have no online comment.
Okay, and with that, I'll close citizen comment, bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
Before we proceed, Chair, there were two conditions on the application. Have we heard from the applicant if he accepted those conditions?
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. Does the applicant accept the two conditions as presented?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I think it looks good. I've been in local government for 9 years now, and I do get the comments that have popped up from our residents from time to time of, why are you building here, pointing at an open field instead of one of those open fields up in Inverness. And so I kind of want to echo what Commissioner Thomas said. You kind of took an interesting piece of land and you found a way to make it really kind of work, and it seems like it's really going to fit in. So if it pleases the board, I do have a motion to approve Reunion at Inverness Planning Development rezoning because it does meet all the approval criteria with two conditions as presented. Project file ZR 2022-043.
Thank you. I will also state that I looked at the criteria carefully, and I believe that your project does meet all of the criteria required, and I will be seconding this motion.
Great, so we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries 3-0. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Our next land use meeting will be held on Tuesday, July 11th, 2023 at 2:30 p.m. We are adjourned.